When you develop that skill, when you're serious about it, because I was very serious about writing, you change your brain. You rewire your brain.
Above all else, focus on acquiring knowledge and skills. Knowledge and skills are like gold, a currency you will transform into something more valuable than you can imagine. And it's similar to one of your tweets, which is eventually the time that was not spent on learning skills will catch up to you and the fall will be painful. What's that mean?
Well, life can be kind of difficult, right? You don't really know sometimes where you're headed. Nobody kind of gives you any kind of guidance in this world, right? And they don't tell you when you graduate college, go ahead, go Robert, you go study this. This is what, this is what your brain is suited for, et cetera, et cetera. You have to find your own path. And so for me personally, I spent years in the wilderness. So I'm gonna give this a personal spin because I think that helps a little bit. Because I can answer it inside my own body here. So I know I want to be a writer, but I can't figure out what the hell I'm going to write. So I leave college and I try journalism because I have to make a living. I have to support myself. And I don't really like it. It doesn't suit me. He writes an article and then a week later it's forgotten. Nobody reads about it. And as somebody who studied ancient Greek and Latin in college, I think in terms of thousands of years and not in 3 days or a week, I want something that I write to be read in 3024, Sorry. So it wasn't a good fit. So I quit. I wander around Europe trying to write a novel with my backpack. I live in London. I live in Paris. I lived in Ireland. I lived in Greece. You name it. I taught English in Spain. Trying to write a novel. I had no discipline. I couldn't do it. It didn't work. And starting to get depressed. Then my dad isn't well. I decided I'm going to move back to Los Angeles. Hey, I'm going to get a job in Hollywood, right? That'll be good. I'll make a ton of money and I'll be writing and, et cetera. How glamorous, how sexy, movie stars, starlets knocking on my door, et cetera. Okay, terrible, terrible fit because I'm a control freak. I don't like people coming in and changing everything I say. And I don't like conforming and I don't like compromise. Sorry, that's a bad thing about me, but I didn't want to have to lower my standards to what they were asking me to do. It was a terrible fit. All right, now comes the chance. I meet this man, Joost Elfer, as we mentioned earlier, in Italy. And he asked me if I have any ideas for books. And I kind of improvised the 48 Laws of Power. The point of my long-winded story here is I had spent 18 years or so acquiring high levels of skill in writing, okay? I learned in journalism how to write under a deadline, under pressure, how to make it dramatic, how to make the opening sentence exciting enough to make you read on further. Trying to write novels taught me about creating stories, which is a huge part of my writing. Working in Hollywood, I learned how to research, which is a huge element. And then the theatrical element, making things dramatic, also story. Okay? All of that time, slowly by slowly, brick by brick, I had developed real level skill. So when it came time to write the 48 Laws of Power, I could do it. I had learned all this discipline. I had learned how to write under a deadline. I learned how to make things entertaining, the whole bag, okay? And so the world opened up for me. Prior to that time, I was miserable, really, really was. I mean, I had good moments too. You're young, you're always happy when you're young. But a lot of times I was miserable. And I didn't know why, but I was acquiring skills, not even aware of it. And so the reason I write that is when you develop that skill, when you're serious about it, because I was very serious about writing, you change your brain. You rewire your brain. It's like, and this is a remarkable power of the human brain that people don't realize. It's something I'm also writing in my new book. This one writer, his name is Schwartz, I believe. He's a UCLA neuroscientist. He wanted to help people who had OCD, right? Obsessive, compulsive disorder. And usually it's drugs and it's talking therapy. He wanted to find out something more effective. And he found that through certain strategies that he developed, that they could use in their life, that they would get over their disorder. And the point isn't what the strategies were. The point was he did brain scans. And through the strategies that he gave them to do, which I can't remember right now, the brain scans show that they changed the brain. And his point was, through thinking, through developing skills, you literally change matter, you change your brain. So something non-material like thoughts can literally change material things like the wiring of your brain. You learn skills, you're changing your brain, you're changing the matter of your brain. Things are connecting that weren't connected before. And slowly, if you do it, if you're serious enough, a point will be reached like it was reached in my life, where either you will start a business or someone will ask you to do something like write a book or make a film, and the world will open up for you and you'll be able to do it because you have that, you've laid the ground, you've laid the soil, everything is there, it's rich, and now something great, amazing will sprout up out of it. When you have no talents and you have no skill, life is a series of endless confusion. You hit this road, you go here, then something else, you go here, then you go here, you end up in a circle and you don't know where the hell you are. When you've got skills, zoom, you know where to go. It's not zoom, it's more like, but you're heading somewhere. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're being filmed, but so yeah. So that's my answer to your question.
Isn't it interesting that the accumulation of skills period at the time can be a little bit like being in the trenches? You have no promise of glory. You don't know if this is even going to work.
Yeah.
You have no idea whether this is worth it. And you don't even have the context of how the journalism, with the novel, with the Hollywood, with the interpersonal skills, with the guy that you meet in Italy, with the so on, Germany, blah, 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 blah. It's only in retrospect that you get to piece this entire arc together. And I think it's one of the reasons why reserving judgment on whether or not the situation you were in right now is good or bad is probably a pretty good idea, because you just don't know what's around the corner that you've been preparing for that you didn't even know existed.
Yes, but there are parameters to it. It's not like it's total mystery in the moment. So, going back to what bothers me about philosophy, we're so caught up in things that are rational, things that can be put into numbers, quantifiable, data, big data, AI, et cetera, et cetera. But the human consciousness is more subtle than that, is more fine-grained. No numbers can actually approximate what human consciousness is capable of. And what we have sometimes is we have an intuition about things in the moment. So maybe in retrospect, I'm creating a story that didn't really exist back then. But at the same time, I kind of knew of the future. I kind of knew that this would happen. I had a feeling of fate. It was always there. It's weird. I know it sounds woo-woo. I'm sorry to say, but it's very real. And I've studied millions of successful, famous people, and a lot of them report the same thing. Sometimes you don't realize it, but your body and your brain has a sense of even the future and of where you're headed, but you're not totally aware of it. So I knew that I wanted to be a writer. So if people don't know that they want to be a writer, they don't know they want to go into engineering, they'll never make those little connections that I was able to make. And having that sense that you want to be a writer, that you want to make films, that you want to start a particular kind of business, if you're interested in technology, creates a framework in your brain that kind of changes how you make decisions. You're not totally conscious of it, but not everything in life you're totally conscious of. Things are operating below the level. So it's the chapter I'm writing right now about my Sublime book. There is something in you that is guiding you towards certain things, right? Guided you towards podcasting. I don't know your life. I don't know your biography before then, but something inched you towards that. What is that? It's interesting to find out. It's not all just chaos and random is what I'm trying to say.